Anita Winter.
And I am Susan Grant,
And we are Bell Street,
who are an events band and production company.
And we're here to talk to you today about our fun and failures
on our journey from being scared to doing it anyway.
And today we have a fantastic guest for you, honestly. You need to make yourself some kind of calming cup of tea, put your feet up, find a nice quiet space.
Preferably looking out to nature.
Yeah. And if you've got a singing bowl at hand, today's the day you're going to use it.
So today we have Dorit Noble, who is a movement coach, teaching us all about somatics, and which you will find out about more and what it means.
What does it mean? Joni asks.
And just telling us about her process, in life, and just she has got so much knowledge. She just was wonderful to talk to, wasn't she?
Yeah. She talks a lot about creativity being linked to movement and also just your own well-being. And when we were listening to this and editing it, it was just like such a feeling of zen. She's so calming. And so just be ready to receive whatever she's got to. We sound like hippies, but it's just one of those ones that brings it out in you.
Yeah.
So we hope that you enjoy this. We need a bell there. Dong.
So my name is Dorit Noble. I'm a NIA trainer, which is somatic movement trainer, as well as a certified coach. I worked for many years in corporate, running leadership, somatic, embodied leadership coaching. And my great passion in life is connecting women to their body, just getting them to that relationship with their body, which is nourishing, which gives them more vitality in their life and gives them a resource in terms of being able to fulfill their greatest potential. Because the body, as far as I'm concerned, the body is an incredible houser of our purpose. And it's just fascinating for me, for myself, what happened to me as well as what happens to my students, my trainees, is that when we connect to the body and we begin to live really guided in our decisions and our choices through the body, all sorts of potential and possibilities that didn't exist before, that maybe I wasn't even conscious of, suddenly appear and send me on a different kind of trajectory in my life. And that's kind of what happened to me with Nia. I started off as an opera singer many years ago, and then for reasons lost my daughter, didn't want to sing anymore, and then I discovered Nia, and it was my healing journey. And I would say I wasn't a great mover, and I had no intention of actually even teaching. Like, I thought I wasn't good enough to teach. I was also very overweight at the time, and but my body knew something else, and so I ended up being a trainer, and now I'm training not just the white, but also the blue belt, and then soon green. So
that's amazing. And yes, I mean, one of the reasons we asked you, just for anyone who doesn't know, is that I have trained with you, with Nia, and taught
brilliant teacher
all the time about to Joni. So, you know, people have their ears talked off about it. But you have been an amazing mentor for me, as well as other women that I've trained with as well. And so when we were talking about having guests, you came up in conversation, because when we're always talking about trusting the process and we're really trying to create this community of, yes, women, because as we say, we are women.
We are.
And that's what we know. With their creative projects and being able to believe that actually you can just start. So, as well as, I mean, in a minute, it'd be great if you could talk a little bit more about what NIA is. But as well as that, you talk about somatics, and can you talk about the somatic side of it?
Can you also tell us what somatics means?
Means body.
Right.
It just means connected to the body. The fascinating, I mean, I've spent my life in analysis. My husband always goes, why? Why don't you just stop now? You're fine. And I'm like, no, but it's creative. It's interesting. And I happen to have an amazing psychotherapeutic analyst. That's a lot of words. So I only go once a week, and I've always only gone once a week, but she's amazing. And one of the things she said is that the body is an external, an external mirror of our inner world. So it's very interesting that we have a way to access this ocean. You know, the conscious mind, well, my conscious mind doesn't particularly interest me. It's full of anxieties. It's not particularly interesting. But my unconscious mind is vast and fascinating. And that's what I've spent my lifetime really wanting to reclaim and restore, which is what the body work has done for me and the analysis. So somatics really is a way of not being an analysis and being able to live closer to that unconscious part of ourselves, which is actually the driver in the seat, as she says. She says, the real driver in the car of in your life is not you, it's your unconscious mind. That's why you can have an idea that you're going to have this wonderful meal with your partner this evening, and then the next thing you're having this huge fight and walking out, right? So the real driver isn't my conscious mind. It's another part of myself. And to me, it's always interested me to understand that part, particularly because it got very damaged when I was in my teenage years. So Nia has just been one of the big ways, together with the work that I've done with her, of bringing myself back to that place where I am living in alignment with that unconscious mind and understanding more of my stuff. Like I would do weird stuff and I go, why did I do that? You know, I always wanted to understand. You know, my husband does it and he says, I'm processing. And I'm going, yeah, but I can go somewhere and then I can actually get told, you know, it's this. And I go, oh yeah, that makes total sense. So yeah, somatic work is fascinating for me just for that, in terms of being able to fulfill our potential. And I think the desire to create that women have and is just a signal. It's like a little breadcrumb from inside the unconscious mind that knows who they're meant to be. And my father always said to me, it doesn't matter what you are in your life. You can be, you know, a street cleaner. If you're an amazing street cleaner, and if that is your potential in life, you will feel fulfilled in your life and you'll have a good life. But he said, if you live a life and you have potential that is unfulfilled, he said, that's suffering. You know, that's people suffer. So for me, it's about fulfilling potential. And I was an opera singer that never fulfilled my potential. I knew that I had greater potential for many reasons, and I understand what they are, and that's fine. But then in a way, trusting that I reached exactly where I'm meant to be, which is my whole life revolves around movement and the joy of being connected to that life force energy, which is a wonderful thing to be. You know, I'm not on stage. I don't have, you know, millions of people watching me or thousands of people watching me, but I have a different space in my life and I really love it.
That's really fascinating. Like, do you think there's a link between kind of people who are able to kind of connect with moving their bodies and people who are able to then kind of tap into that creative side of themselves?
Well, we say, for example, so if the body is a mirror of the way that I think and the way that I feel, and in somatics, it's said that the way I move through space is the way I actually move through my life. It's just a mirror of how I move through my life. So the choices that I make in terms of where I stand in a room when there's a group, for example, it reflects my social choices. You know, the way that I stand, if my tendency is to be standing and leaning more back on the backs of my heels than in general, which is mine, in general, I tend to hold myself back in my life and get other people to go forward. If I tend to be somebody that's always on the front of their heels when I'm standing, that's the person that's very driven, can only see ahead. It's all about, you know, success, career, whatever. And the ideal, the design of the body is to really be in the center of the foot. So in somatics, we study the body's way, which is what the body actually is designed to do. Then in neosomatics, we study my body's way, which is what do I do? What do I get up to? And then the pull, the magnet between those two reveals to me things about myself and what my body needs me to do in order to balance out and get what I want. Like, why am I stuck? You know, what's making me stuck? So there's clues that the body holds. So in terms of creativity and the body, I mean, there are different ways into creativity. It doesn't have to be through movement, of course. I mean, my husband hates dance, he hates movement in that way, although he likes cycling. But the body is an amazing tool for doing that. So I actually did some work with actors at some point. And I actually spoke to Central School, and they were interested in bringing Nia in and doing things there. I think Susan should go and speak to schools and do that. But anyway, to like universities, should be amazing. And so the work I did with the actors was I played with them with movement and different sensation and breaking habits. And as they broke habits through their movement, like they brought texts, you know, they were working, and so they brought different texts and things. And so then that allowed them to explore the text in different ways. The body just gave them clues as to how to play with the text in a different way to the way that they used to. And I also think that switching channels is really helpful in creativity. Like in coaching, if a client is stuck, then we'll say, you know, we'll move it to a different channel of information. So we'll say, what would that sound like if you were made to make a sound? What would that smell like? Or what story? You know, we take them to different parts of themselves, either, you know, olfactory or auditory or, you know, mind. So that, and then you bypass the wiring, which is where the stuckness happens. And we go into that bigger pre-verbal ocean that exists in us, where creativity is just an endless source. And then I also now believe, from having, you know, just explored it myself, is that there's a creativity that we have access to in this ocean of our unconscious, but there's also a collective creativity source available to everybody. And when I'm present in my body, fully present in my body, I can hear that. I can tap into that. I can resource it.
It's also, we can get very stuck sort of forgetting about the body and how important the body is in just daily. I know that you end up running from A to B and forgetting about the body, and also breath as well.
I was about to say breath.
And stillness, and just checking back in again to see what the body wants. And that's one thing I learned through training, is what does my body want? And a lot of people don't connect with that, because actually that hasn't been something that is taught, or you talk about. What does my body want? I don't know.
And it's a scary thing to ask as well, because then what happens? Do you know what I mean? I think for a long time, like, I would be scared to kind of ask my body, because then, like, you have to do something about it, don't you? I guess it takes over.
Well, you always have a negotiation. I mean, you don't have to do, you know, it doesn't have to be like it has to be that way. It's just a North Star. It just tells you which direction you want to be heading in. And then you can say, well, I'm not going to do it today, but maybe next year I am going to do that. But at least I know I'm meant to be doing that. That's helpful, you know. And yeah, as we're talking, just notice that we're very much in the mind, right? And so that we have access to lots of information. I mean, the mind is an amazing thing. What's interesting about the breath, like if we take a breath, right? And then we give that an opportunity to just settle, so that now I'm connected to another channel of information. It just makes something new available to me in the same moment, which is why people love yoga, you know. That's their connection to the body, is the breath. It's one of the keys, it's one of the ways in. Meditation, I do lots of meditation. Sit in my garden and look at the trees and just go to that place of stillness.
Well, could you take a minute just to tell people like me, who, well, obviously I've been around Susan, and I've seen some of I've been to one of your classes, but it was online, so not face to face, but maybe just let us know a little bit, because I feel like it will come up a few times, what Nia is, and the thought behind it, and what kind of practice is it a practice?
Yeah, Nia it's a lifestyle practice, and it also comes in the form of a class. So you can go and do a Nia class, and it blends martial arts, it blends the energies and concepts and elements from 3 martial arts, 3 dance arts, and 3 healing arts. I also see it as an incredible coaching tool. It's a way really of connecting to the body so that I can access parts of myself that maybe are not available to me in my normal life, except when I'm in my body. So you could have somebody that feels really shy or very introverted, but then they go into a near class and they do a different kind of move where they'll do like blocks and punches, right? And then suddenly, just through the body, there's something getting retrained, so that suddenly they have access to being able to confront more. I'm speaking about myself there, by the way, sneakily. Yeah, so it blends 3 martial arts, dance arts, healing arts. It's really joyful. It's all about this sensation of life force energy and joy and connecting to what does my body enjoy moment by moment when I'm moving. It's got great music. It's done to great music. It has, of course, trainings and belts. And it also has many, many lifestyle practices. So it's way beyond just the class. So on a top tip of the iceberg level, it's this mind-body fusion fitness program. And NIA was the very first fusion fitness program in America. People thought that Debbie and Carlos, who were the co-creators, they thought they were nuts, basically, because it didn't exist at the time. And at the time, yoga was something that, yogis did. It was spiritual. It wasn't fitness-based. Of course, now it's all changed. But they were part of that. They were pioneers in that arena, the arena of fitness in America. And they just looked at what was going on with their own. They had trainers called the Bod Squad. They had 100 people working for them in the different various gyms that they ran. And they noticed that they were getting burnt out, and they themselves were getting burnt out. It was the period of Jane Fonda. And so they said to each other, is this what fitness is? Do we have to actually hurt ourselves to look good? Is that right? And then it led them into this journey with going into martial arts and having senseis and looking at different modalities from the East that didn't hurt the body, did the opposite, and also was much more inclusive. Like all ages could do it, all sizes of people could do it, all fitness levels could do it. They're like, what is this? How do they do this? They're not jumping up and down. They look fit. What are they doing? And so they went on this journey of discovery, and they brought in all these different arts. They brought in first the martial arts, and then they wanted to bring in the emotional expression, as we're in the human experience also has an emotional body, and they really wanted something that would be sustainable for a lifetime. They wanted a way of moving and getting fitter that would be sustainable for a lifetime. So they also brought in jazz, elements of jazz and modern dance and Duncan dance and healing. So it's got elements of Feldenkrais, and it's all very sensory based. And yoga. To me, Nia is like dancing yoga, really, the class. Yeah. Really becoming aware of the alignment in every single move is where the joy is greatest for me. Still learning. I mean, I've been in it for 20 years, been in it. Yeah. Still learning. Still improving.
And you travel a lot. You said you've got belts coming up in Israel in
In Israel, I have a big dancing community there. And we did a training in Scotland, which was really fun. And and we just did a training here in Potter's Bar. First time ever.
How did you connect with each other, and why did you get into... I'll interview Susan as well.
Yes, and ask her why she's not teaching, because she's so amazing. Lecturing at some big school, which is what she should be doing. Like Mountview or Central, you should go there and get work. They're teaching Nia.
Well, I had, as we have talked about before, after university, I had been so desperate to be a contemporary dancer at college, and then really felt that I had all of that ripped away from being told I just wasn't this and I wasn't that, and I couldn't, and I wasn't flexible enough, but I loved the essence of it and the freedom of it as well. And so I've been doing other things, and I was living in London, and I just very randomly found this tiny studio in Camden, Alchemy.
Oh, wow, yes, wow.
Like, you know, so bustly and busy, and this beautiful studio that was candlelit. This little, and I came to a class, and it was busy. It was a busy class, and I remember dancing with you, and just I had no idea what I was expecting.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
And
Your
just
body's remembering.
it is. But I remember because we work a lot. Maybe we'll talk about it in a minute. With floor play and being on the floor at the end, and I just remember crying.
Wow.
Release. At last, I was like, oh, actually, I'm not being judged, and I can just do what I want. Actually, I'm following the routine, but I'm also, my body is allowed to do what it wants. And then we had a few classes together, and then actually I moved away, and that was that until I heard it. Janie Lee Grace was talking about it on Radio 2, and I went home and I said to my mum, I've just heard about the training, Nia again, and I looked up the training, and my mum said, book it now.
Oh.
And I had an 18-month-old baby, and I came up to London for a week, you know, and I remember you saying, well, you'll find a way. If you're supposed to do it, you'll find a way.
Yeah.
Like, okay. But yeah, it was that release, and I mean, you taught Zumba for a long time.
Yeah.
So we both have that experience of that class community building it up, and but it is amazing how many people you I was going to say touch, but I don't mean that physically. I mean that you get through to connect with,
Yeah.
from being able to open up a space for them to just turn up and be, especially through movement for me.
Yeah, beautiful. That acceptance. I mean, you remind me now that that's what got me into Nia in a way, was the very first class that I had. And the teacher, who was just a goddess, she was so beautiful, you know, inside out. And then she said at one point, I was feeling like, why am I in this class? Oh, I don't want to be here. This is so embarrassing. My cousins were there. I was so unglamorous. They were all glamorous, you know. And then she said, you know, it doesn't have to look good. It can look ugly. It has to feel good. And that was the buy-in for me. I was like, yeah, my head just stopped thinking, and I just got into my movement, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I was home, and it felt so healing, and I felt, yeah, I let go of my own judgment of myself, and I just went into the space of not thinking, which is one of the things that Nia brought back to me, was being able to move and not think.
That is such a big part, isn't it? Judgment for ourselves. Again, we were talking the other day about the gym. And actually how frightening it can be to go into a gym, because you're supposed to be this, or you know, it's like
Can I just point out that Susan has a perfect figure? Seriously?
oh, no.
Why it should be scary for Susan? I don't understand. She's a mystery to me.
It's the intimidation of, well, it's probably in any situation as well, but it's just, who are we supposed to be? Are we supposed to know the stuff before we go in there? Am I?
You know, though, I was just sorry.
No.
Well, I was thinking about judgment and like women and, you know, the fear of judgment. But actually, then I was thinking about, you've taught Nia, you were talking about the big classes. I mean, sounds like mainly women. Women kind of flock to group fitness, don't they? They flock to group. Even when I wanted to go to the gym, I was like, I went with a group of women that went there for safety. It's interesting that women feel like, although obviously we do feel judgment from each other, but I think actually there's safety in a group of people moving their body together, being creative together or whatever. It's interesting that women seem to kind of lean into that more once they get over the fear of judgment. There is a safety in it, isn't there? And a kind of joy in it when everyone's moving together. Like even going dancing at the club or whatever, you know, if there's a group of you all like dancing together, it feels safe, it feels good. It's nice. I can't remember what my point was. But I was just thinking about,
I think you're talking about the fact that there's this initial barrier in the group, but then once women feel they can trust each other, there's a great joy about feeling like we're with, you know, I'm with my tribe, there's no judgment, and I feel kind of held. There's something about the women's circle thing, and that's what I was hearing. but you can correct me.
You talk about that a lot, about finding the people who you connect with, finding your tribe, because that does mean that you kind of feel accepted and you can feel safe to create, and you can feel safe to, I loved what you said about it doesn't have to look good. You know, you just move, just do it. And I think once you found your tribe and you feel that kind of holding, you can just try things out and it be whatever, it doesn't matter. You're getting it out of you. I love that.
And also I catch myself, I catch my own judgment on myself when I say Susan has the perfect figure. She has the perfect figure, the conventional view of what perfect means. And what I love about creativity is that unexpected faces, bodies create the most incredible things. That makes me cry when I watch somebody and I expect one thing from them, right? My unconscious bias is like, ooh, not sure. And then the next thing, they just have this golden voice and they're just phenomenal. And I'm like, yes, you know. That's the beauty to me of creativity, is that it doesn't get restricted by this model or ideas that are quite toxic around us of what we're supposed to look like or how we're supposed to behave. All of that is just a way of blocking, you know, the flower that's meant to grow, the tree that's meant to emerge, you know.
So what would you say to someone who hasn't moved for a while, or hasn't kind of connected with their body for a bit, and kind of wants to lean into that in terms of getting started with something creative, or just connecting with what they want to create or what they want to do? What would you say to someone who literally, what would be your first couple of steps, your smallest thing you can do on the step towards connecting better with?
I mean, one of the views of somatics, and I actually did this in corporate. I did something for Innocent, you know, Innocent Smoothies. I did some days there with the procurement teams, and one of the guys said, "I really feel like I don't want to." And he was a young guy, it's like in his 20s. He said, "I feel like I want to feel more vital and not like I'm living on autopilot." And then I did this movement thing with them, not with music, but just movement with joints. And he was very self-conscious and he didn't move. And I said to him, you know, you said you want to live not on autopilot. And one of the ways of doing that is by breaking your habits. So in order to release creativity, I need to start stalking, what are my habits in my mind? What are my habits emotionally? What are my habits? And then I can do that with my body. I can start to do something that's different. And as soon as I behave differently or think differently or feel differently, then new things become available. That's freedom. That's me going beyond what I've been taught, you know, beyond my family, culture, whatever it is. So with movement, a very small thing would be, if you don't move. Put some music on and move. Do something that you normally wouldn't do. You know, go into the shopping center and dance with your trolley. Well, you don't have to do that. But, you know, do something new. So maybe just put on a song and dance in the morning first thing before you go out to work, and just track it and see, what does it do for my mind? What does it do for my emotions that week? If it doesn't do anything, stop. Don't do it anymore.
And it doesn't have to look good.
No, you'll be at home. Who cares? It has to feel good.
Yes.
I mean, I would imagine, I'm a terrible actress, but I would imagine that good acting feels really good, because good singing felt really good, and bad singing hurt. So, and then the same thing with movement. When it feels good, it's always right, you know.
Yeah.
So we all have the ability to do it. We just have to tune into, does this feel nice for me? Is it feeling good? Do I want to do more of it? No, I'm not enjoying that very much. You know, my back's suddenly cranky. Okay, I'm going to do something different. Yeah. Is that a good tip?
Yeah, that's great. Really good. And I like the idea of kind of thinking about what your habits are and like shifting out of those. Because even if you're doing something that's, say, a good creative process, but you've just been doing it and doing it and doing it, shocking yourself, not shocking yourself out of it, but like, just, I like that idea. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go on.
No, I was going to say, we talked before about recapitulation which again was
That was a new word for me. I did learn that. It's exciting.
but it's something that sticks very much with, again, the process of the training from the first white belt, just being able to go back in to what you've done and really feel it in the body as well. And actually, we said we were going to do it a lot more. We need to get back into.
Just remind everybody what it recapitulate if everybody has it.
Somatic memory, it's like I'm remembering through the body.
Yeah. Yeah. I always go to childbirth when everybody talks about that. I always go straight to, I don't know why. Anyway.
That must be that must have a really strong somatic memory for you.
Yeah, well, I did it so much.
Did you really? Have you got lots of
I've
kids?
got 4 children.
I've just put a metaphoric crown on your head.
Thank you. I will wear it. Right.
Incredible.
And what about meditation? Do you find that is that part of your daily practice, or is that something you recommend? Because it's something that I would struggle with in terms of focus and stuff like that. What about people who are like busy and have a lot going on?
I think the busier we are, the more important meditation is for the nervous system. It's a healing space, tuning into stillness. And I have an incredible teacher, which I'm happy to talk about. I'll share his name. His name is Hung Tran. He's from Vietnam, and he studied with the great teacher when he was 8 years old, Thich Nhat Hanh. And he is also a physician and an acupuncturist. And he talks about how important stillness is in terms of allowing the body to heal itself, basically. So you can do meditation if you're able to just sit still, and I do a lot of that. I sit with my trees in the garden, and I just spend 2 hours, 3 hours just communing, or as my father, that's an interesting Freudian slip, as my husband says, being flaky. But anyway, he says the more busy you are, the more time you need to be balancing that with non-doing. Very, very important. And I actually ran an online training for 1,000 pediatricians from the Middle East. It was a Nestle contract, who were suffering from burnout. And just taught them very simple tools, 15 minutes every night for 3 weeks, and they made a huge difference. But mostly it was just taking like 1 minute a day to tune into stillness. The good thing about Nia is that we meditate, but we meditate while moving. So for people who are allergic to stillness and find just sitting and not doing anything impossible at some point, nervous system wise, then Nia is a great entry point. Because it is a meditation. When I'm teaching, I mean, inside it's absolutely still. But of course, there are so many ways to meditate. Could be forest bathing, or whatever it is that you love in your life that makes you just drop in and go into a place of stillness. Even 1 minute a day, like 1 minute a day. We used to say, because they used to say on the course, they said, oh, we're very busy, all these surgeon doctors. We don't have time, we're looking after our patients. And then we were like, yeah, but if you don't look after yourself, you're not going to be able to look after your patients, A, and B, you can find 1 minute a day to stop. And then the nervous system that's in this place of sympathetic, where it's just adrenalize. When you cut that circuit and you give it a non-doing moment, it has a moment to reset. Even personally, when I'm busy, and I'm just so many things that interest me and so many things that I'm doing, but if I'm just busy all day long and then at the end of the day I go to sleep, I can't sleep properly. Unless during the day I've taken time to just stop in between all the things that I do and giving myself like 30 seconds, 1 minute to break the circuit and just come back to that place of rest. And then I'm able to sleep. Otherwise the nervous system just is like hyper, by the time we get to bed.
I could do that. I could do a minute. Probably.
Susan can teach you how to do Nia's meditation through touch, which doesn't involve being still even.
We'll have a private session.
We can do that. Well,
Okay.
I quite find, again, music helps me with meditation, especially, I guess, well, like a sound bath. When you have that frequency that actually we don't hear all the time, but you can feel it in your body.
Yeah,
I
delicious. Love sound baths.
sit still and meditate.
Mm.
I did. So
Gong bath.
Yeah. Or your back hurts.
Yeah. Or I find myself doing this with one eye.
Paranoia, isn't
it? Everyone's still here.
it? Is that what the arms are for then in yoga? For like
Oh yeah.
Maybe that should be meditation during the day. Every once in a while, just coming and going like this. And just sitting and listening until it stops.
Yeah.
And then going back to what you're doing. There's a simple...
I love that you just whipped that out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, along with all my
My pocket.
anatomical things that I have.
Oh, I wondered what that was.
Yeah. It's normally a
It's a hip joint, a hip joint. Yeah. Yeah, I've got my skeleton somewhere. It's over there, hiding behind the screen.
Maybe we can talk about. I think you mentioned at the beginning about joy, about kind of, and that's part of the. Did I hear that right? A part of the Nia philosophy.
Joy of movement.
Yeah. So let's talk about joy and finding joy, because obviously everyone has like shit going on and busy and horrible things happening, or stress or worry or anxiety or any of those things. I mean, there's so much, and then finding joy in something. How do you find the best way of, because we talk a lot about performing through trauma, or like this being our break from the craziness. Like, how do you find joy? What would you recommend people do if they need to pull it out of somewhere, or what?
Well, maybe make a joy list. Start with knowing what really would light you up. So that you can begin to magnetize that, to draw towards you, even if you don't have the time. And if you have no time, there's no way I can do any of these things. It doesn't matter. Just knowing what it is, it's like, these things bring me joy. And then I want to know, what difference would it make if I had that? Like, why should I bother creating space for those joys? And then it's good to understand that joy, particularly as you get older and hit your 50s, is part of being healthy. It's very, very important in terms of staying healthy. So if we want to stay healthy, we have to have a lot of joy in our life. And those things need to be prioritized. Of course, we have life and we have things that we have to do. But we need to find ways of connecting to that. That's the second thing. The third thing is that joy, in Nia, we call it the joy compass. There's an intrinsic sat-nav system that I call the joy compass that actually guides us towards where we're meant to be going to next. So if you're feeling stuck or lost, or in a career transition, or struggling with health stuff, or whatever it is, that is when you really need to be tuning into that inner guidance. And everybody has that inner guidance. The more I override that inner guidance, the less I can hear it. The more I listen to it, the more I begin to hear it. It becomes louder and louder and louder. One of the ways to connect to it is through the body, which is what Nia does. It connects us to joy through the body. And at a simple level, I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, that's why we want you on it.
Okay. But at a simple level, if I think about doing something and I feel lit up by it, that is my body saying, yes, go there. If I think about doing something and my whole energy just goes, oh, that is my body saying, don't do that. So that's your joy compass. It's very simple, you know. It's not simple for somebody who overrides it all the time, because it's like they just get deaf. They just can't hear it anymore. So then it's like, how do I tune back in to a very small thing, like, you know, I need to go to the loo. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to override that signal. I'm going to be with my body. It's giving me a signal. You need to put a jump. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to wait 3 hours, right? So the more I'm listening to those signals, which I'm getting from the body, the clearer that information starts to come. More clearly, I can start to hear that information, and it begins to guide me all the time, you know. So we all have the ability to tune into this incredible wisdom that exists in ourselves, exists all around us. And all it takes really is stillness and saying yes to the stuff that fills me up with joy. Like, if it lights me up, you've got to say yes. It's like, yeah. Ask yourself, if money was no object, would I do it? And if it's yes, you'll find the way to do it. You need to do it. There ends my lecture on joy.
I love it. I love your lecture. It's great.
Thank you.
So we do kind of ask everybody we interview if you could go back and talk to your younger self. We never really specify, do we? We always say before you jumped in and did whatever you did. What would you say to yourself? Would you give yourself any advice? Is there any words of encouragement you'd say?
To my younger self. Depends how young we're going.
I know, I was just thinking. We never specify.
There's a lot of years here, so.
Well, which bit of you would you go? Which younger self would you go to? Which needs the advice the most? Do you think? And give? Would you say?
I think I probably would have gone back to my near younger self. You know, I found Nia when I was 37, and I would have said. It was always around confidence, self-confidence. I would have so loved to have the same level of confidence that I have now. Then, like, who knows what I could have done by now. But I would say you're going to do amazing. So just trust yourself. I had no clue. I mean, I didn't think I could even teach, you know. So I think if I were able to say, own your confidence, because I don't think we don't have confidence. I think we give it away at some point. That's my take on it. It's not we don't have self-confidence. At some point, we decided to just give it to somebody else. Like, I'm not going to have self-confidence now. For you, here, have my self-confidence. So that's what I would say to my 37-year-old self, 20 years later.
I like.
We always pick a quote that someone says as the title of the podcast, but I've written down about 7 things. I'm like, that one, oh no, that one, oh no. So I don't know, we'll just have to rename it every month or something. So we've got so many great like snippets of advice. We call them like our tea towel quotes.
Yes.
That we want to put on mugs and tea towels and magnets, t-shirts.
It's funny.
You'll find a way. It doesn't have to look good. I love it.
Yeah. It doesn't have to look good is a really good one. That's not mine. That's Nia. That's somatics. I would say that's kind of the key. Yeah. Is to trust what feels good in the body is right. Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much, especially because you're so busy. We're really grateful that you came on our little podcast. And it was so
a pleasure.
Nice hearing so much about you.
Well, I enjoyed meeting the dynamic duo. I've been watching you guys on Facebook. So it's fun to see you live together.
Yes.
And thank you for inviting me. I hope people listen to this.
We will make
as long as it reaches some. I always feel that there's, the unconscious is matchmaking. So I believe it will reach someone or people who need to hear what we've been talking about. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
And we're creating new shows, so we might even look at coming up your way a little bit more. That sort of venues, but some nice little theatres up North London way, aren't they?
Yes, we're working on being braver. And then obviously you have to get your teaching job.
Yes, that's right as well.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Just wake myself up out of my meditative state after that.
Or maybe you're moving your body and getting yourself in the groove for the day.
Having a groovy day.
Well, we really, really loved talking to Dorit, and as if you've listened to it, you know I've known her for a long time and talked Joni's ear off about her. So it was great for us actually to be able to talk and take away all of her, not all of her knowledge, but a lot of her knowledge.
Yeah, and I got so much out of it in terms of just being re-inspired to reset and not strive for perfection, and if you're stuck, just get moving, really.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And how important movement is, whatever you're doing, and we as performers are doing it, we get a bit static. So yeah, we're going to go and do a bit of free dance.
Yeah.
To get ourselves
Sure
ready.
we are, yeah. So, if you've got something or if you're feeling stuck and you're wanting to move forward, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. And just do it anyway. Let's move.